Hello, everybody. I have a great guest today. She is a news anchor. She's been a journalist. She's an author. I've known her, I'm trying to calculate this, I think almost close to 20 years, possibly even longer. We don't see each other that often, so this is going to be a really fun catch up. Her name is Vanessa Tyler. You're probably going to recognize her the minute you see her. And if you don't, I'm going to encourage you to follow her because she's smart, she's thoughtful, she is on the pulse of so much of what's happening, and has a super curious mind, which is something I really appreciate. And she brings a new perspective and lots of thought-provoking perceptions to whatever she is covering. So welcome, Vanessa.
Oh, it is such a pleasure to be here. What a great welcome. And it's a pleasure seeing you. Yes, it's been that long, probably. We've known each other for years. And every time we see each other, it's always a celebration. So this is perfect.
It's true. And I was trying so hard to remember in the shower where I usually, my thoughts get triggered.
Yes, exactly.
How we met in the first place.
You know what? I don't know. I think I did a story. I think I did a story on you. I don't know whether it was about health and fitness or something like that. Maybe from a book.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was during my years at WPIX 11 that I did that story. And we became fast friends because you were fabulous and you had the rebounder. And then I said, "Oh, she's amazing."
That I epically fell off of during a recording and smashed into plants. Dirt was everywhere.
Wow!
But I aired it anyway.
Yes, oh my goodness.
You have to keep yourself humble.
Yeah, you do. You do. That is definitely one of the lessons in life.
Now, tell everybody, you have had a very interesting career as a journalist, a reporter, a news anchor. Let's hear how this story unfolded.
Well, when I was born, from the very beginning, this is serious. At 11 years old, I knew I wanted to be a television news reporter.
Really?
I saw a woman on television and a woman of color, Black woman, and I said, "Oh, I want to do that." And that's what I did. I pursued, I grew up in Harlem, in New York City. Great.
So you're a lifelong New Yorker.
Lifelong New Yorker. And if anyone may not know about Harlem, it's a community. It's a village. You'll often hear it referred to as the village of Harlem. And that's because everybody kind of supports. And I felt very supported. I felt very encouraged by people who were not even my relatives, neighbors, that kind of thing. So anyway, grew up in Harlem, and I saw this woman on television, Melva Tolliver. I don't know whether people remember her.
Oh my gosh, I remember her.
And so...
Wow, I haven't thought about her in years, but I can picture her face vividly.
And it was very controversial during her reign as an anchor on WABC because at the time, people were starting to wear their hair natural. And so she wore an afro. And she was supposed to, I guess she was assigned to cover Trish Nixon's wedding. And they took her off the air because, like, what are you doing with your hair? So it became controversial. That was, later. But still, that's, her story. And that goes down in her history, how she refused to change her hair. And she was taken off the air. They put a slide up. You just heard her voice because of the afro. So anyway, I saw her on television. I said, I want to do that. So then I pursued and looked for places where I can study that. So after high school, I went 1 through 12 at Catholic high schools in New York City and in the Bronx. That's how I was educated. And so then after high school, I started to look around for places, universities, colleges that specialized in broadcast journalism. I didn't know what it was called then, but I knew I wanted to be a news reporter. And that's the profession, broadcast journalism. And I found a school at Syracuse University. And I looked that up and I was like, oh, the Newhouse School. The Newhouse School of Communications is like one of the best schools for broadcast journalism. That's the only school I applied to. And I got into Newhouse. And when I was there, my only focus was to get my degree and to get a job as a news reporter. I was so focused on that solely. And I did. I graduated, and that's when I began my journey around the country, anchoring and reporting at various local stations until ultimately getting to New York.
Okay, now we have to go back a bit on that, because most people I know who have gone into your career, which is not easy, their first jobs are you had to report on accidents or something, the local funeral. I mean, like really, you really have to work yourself up.
You
So
do.
I'm curious, what were your first things you were asked to cover
Oh my goodness.
as a journalist or an on-air reporter?
I remember one story. I worked in various markets. One of the markets I worked in was Salisbury, Maryland. It was actually my first on-air job. I started in Washington, D.C. at WTTG, but
Wow.
I was an assignment editor who always went out to ask questions. Let me go out and ask you. I was very eager beaver type of chick. So I went out
and
and
it
asked
served you well.
But my first on-air job was about, I don't know, maybe 50 miles or so away in a place called Salisbury, Maryland.
Uh-huh.
And so there I covered everything from, fires to, unfortunately, shootings to everything. And one of the stories I remember covering was about substandard housing, because I've always liked to tell the stories of people who need help.
Yeah.
And it was a young white couple, really sweet couple. They let me into their trailer, and their trailer was they were renting it. The trailer was substandard. They were complaining, and they were able to push the wall out, and you can see the ground. And they said, we're paying so much money. And during the interview, the county commissioner for that county, who was also their landlord, literally kicked in the door while we were there. And he started yelling at them, and he said, "You're going to the media about these complaints? You get out, pack your stuff and get out now. And you get out too." Talking to me, I said, wait, please don't kick him out. I said, please don't evict them. I was like begging him not to evict them. It was the saddest thing. He ultimately evicted them. And so they just, after that, they had nowhere to go. So I've had so many experiences. I've had people knock on the door to get what we call, sound bites or MOSs from people, come to the door with a shotgun. It's just been the most bizarre stories. I remember when I was in one of my markets was in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
And so we covered like 22 counties, a really huge area. In fact, we would fly to stories, park at, land at, rather, school parking lots, those are big enough spaces.
Yeah.
And then from there, we would go to the story.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just something, people there always talked to us. They were rough in the beginning. What do you want? Get off my property. And then they would talk. And people always ask, how do you get people to talk at the most tragic time of their lives? But they do. I don't get it, but they do. They want to talk. They want to talk about the person who's lost or what they're feeling. So we get people to talk.
Well,
sometimes
you're
people
also
don't.
Compassionate. You bring a lot of compassion.
Yeah, you do have to bring that. You
Which
do have to bring that. That's people's lives.
Yeah.
You don't want to get too, jaded, which you can. It's almost like journalists and cops. We see everything.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that way, because you're right. You have to bring compassion when talking with people about their lives.
Where do you take that in a story once that conversation starts? And how do you end it?
It's difficult.
Yeah.
I remember when the plane exploded over Lockerbie, Scotland.
Yes.
Many students on that flight were from, ironically, Syracuse University. And so I believe at that time I was anchoring and reporting in Rochester, New York. So we were close to upstate, where one student in particular had died, and it was around Christmas. And so we go to her house, and her father starts speaking with us. And emerging from a bedroom at the top of the stairs is her mother, who was crushed. Her daughter's stocking was on the mantle, her name, all the gifts. and she wasn't coming home. And so it's very difficult not to cry and break down. By the end of the time, my photographer, myself, the father, and the mother were holding each other, just crying.
Mm-hmm.
It was tragic. It's very difficult not to bring it home,
Mm-hmm.
especially if there are stories involving children.
Oh.
Oh my goodness! I remember sitting in a courtroom. One story. This couple adopted this little boy, and he had been in their home, I don't know, maybe 3 months. He was with a foster family out of state and thriving, doing well. They loved this little boy, but they brought him to this other young couple, professionals in his state, and he wasn't potty trained. And so that's where the abuse came from. But not only was it physical abuse, there was some sexual abuse too, for some reason. And that was a story that we covered, and we were able to get cameras in the courtroom because in some cases in state court, you can have cameras. And so the judge asked me, because we're pool camera, to go through the photographs to see which one would be, what we can air. We can't air everything. Wow. And I'll never get the images of what I saw out of my head to this day, how cruel people can be. So you see a lot.
I really, it's one of the things every time I talk to someone who has, started, not many people finish their dreams of being, making it to be a news anchor because of stories like that.
Yeah.
The things you're exposed to.
Yeah.
It's trauma, emergencies. They're really tough to cover.
They really are. Yeah, it's a tough business. On that end and the other end.
Yeah, no. How did you progress from there? So going around to all these.
You keep moving up in market size. Every market has a number. And New York is number 1. So every market has a number, and you just keep moving up in number, which is the way you used to do it. Today is slightly different because at the time I started, there really wasn't like a FiOS or a News One or places where you can learn. But I believe that by going to a small market, you can make your mistakes, you can get your look right before you enter a large market, because once you're here and you make all those mistakes, people don't forget. I said, wasn't that the girl who,
Yeah.
So no, you can do all that there and then bring a polished product to New York.
What are you seeing as the television landscape has changed so
drastically?
For lack of any better word.
Yeah. Everything is about streaming. Everything's about podcasts. I have a podcast myself and starting a new one.
What's the name of your podcast?
Well, the current one that I have through iHeartMedia, which is also my employer, my current employer, because currently I am doing radio, which is something I've never done, but I've done it for the past 5 years.
I don't know. There's a joke there, where people say you have a face for radio. You have a face for TV. They've got to get you back on TV.
Exactly. That's what I say.
Or a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
You could start recording here.
Yeah. I talked to Peter about this. But, the thing is, the last television job I had was anchoring on a regional broadcast for FiOS News, which covered the region. They went out of business. How a television station goes out of business, I don't know. Whatever happened.
And that was FiOS.
Between FiOS and the station group who ran it for them.
Wow.
They could not come to a financial agreement. So FiOS walked away. That ended that. Very similar to News 12 or New York 1 for those in the city. So I went to NBC Radio. I just happened to do that. And while there, NBC Radio is in partnership with iHeart. And iHeart, of course, is like the mega of all audio. And so while I was there, one of the executives of iHeart remembered me from television and knew that, I'm an Emmy Award winning journalist. And so they came to me and said, well, we're starting a new project, but you can't tell your current boss what you're doing. And so it's like, what do you mean I can't tell my current boss? And it's all in the same organization. It was really a top secret project that they were going to launch Ultimately, it was called the Black Information Network, and it
Uh-huh.
launched in 2020 during the time of George Floyd. It just happened to
Uh-huh.
time out that way.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been great, but it's been different because, first of all, I can record from home. My co-anchor is in Florida. The way they put this stuff together, it's amazing because you would never know because all
Mhm.
you hear are the voices.
Right.
So things are definitely different. Definitely everything is streamed, everything is online. Even television stations are seeing the beauty in having everything on a streaming or a podcast where
Mhm.
people can just see it on the go. So you're not sitting at home in front of a television anymore. Very
Mhm.
few people are. They're seeing a story, they'll get a notification on their phone about a story, let's say on WNBC. They can just look at that particular story and keep it moving. So
Mhm.
it's strange. So through iHeart, I also have a podcast. I've been doing it more than a year. It's called Blackland. I think it's
Mm.
really, really good.
That's a good name.
It's a good name. And it's just about life and love and happiness and just everything that people go through. I have so many, like a variety of stories on there that
Mhm.
it's just really good. I really like the podcast. But now I'm going to be doing another podcast. So that may sunset. And I'm going to be doing a podcast on true crime. And that's the reason
Ooh,
because
big
everybody
topic. Oh
loves
my
it.
gosh.
So we're going to switch over to that. So we just had the meet. So this is breaking news. We just had the meeting yesterday. So that's going to be my new focus. So that's coming up.
Wow.
So people should follow me, and then they will, of course, hear and be notified when that launches. So I'm pretty excited about
Now,
that.
is that current true crime looking at retrospectively?
Both.
Both.
Both, yeah. I'll do some history pieces, but I'll also do current. You know why? Because every day the most horrendous things happen, and it's just unbelievable. The other day I did a piece which was not for the podcast, just for my regular newscast.
Mhm.
And you can listen to the Black Information Network. It's 24/7. It's like a 10/10 wins. So it's
Oh,
one of those kind of
interesting.
things. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And this was about another abuse of a child. They put the child in a washing machine. So, I mean, it's like people are just insane.
How do
And
you mentally prepare yourself for covering true crime on a regular
yeah,
basis,
yeah,
Vanessa?
it
Oh my gosh.
is. It is a
It's funny
lot.
when I was first in private practice back in the this would have been early 90s. I had to stop for a while because I was HIV, AIDS, lupus, eating disorders were really all like merging and on a
Yeah,
ridiculous high. And that's what all the doctors were referring to me.
right.
And I swear I went into work feeling like $1,000,000, that I was energized, but I was really a dollar bill. But at the end of the day, I could have been $1,000,000 crumpled up on the street and no one would have picked me up because
Wow.
that drain of energy, the energy that you bring in, that's really tough.
It is tough.
What
It is
kind of
tough.
schedule are you going to be on recording that?
My schedule now, when I leave chatting with you,
Yeah.
I'll start work. I usually work from about 1 until 10, sometimes longer.
Wow.
Which is, I like starting later because that gives me the opportunity to run errands and,
Mm-hmm.
work out in the morning, and then I can start my day. So I'm kind of skewed to the late. So I'll be doing the podcast in between then.
Now, are you sourcing your own talent? Do you have a team helping you with the talent or the storytelling?
Well,
Or are
that's what
people
I would.
texting you like, hey, Vanessa, I've got this idea for you?
I get a lot of that. That's where, in fact, I get a lot of my interviews. People do reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. As far as sourcing and production, I have a producer.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I can use an assignment editor and a booker and all those people as well.
It's amazing doing how, I guess we could say the internet has changed lives in so many ways
So
from,
many.
the phone systems that there used to be the main phone system. Now we're all carrying phones. So that changed a lot of people. You no longer had an administrative assistant or a secretary. No, you answered your own phone because it was in your pocket.
Yeah.
And now with doing a podcast, I'm so grateful being here at Manhattan Center. But, it's you're booking, you're working on those schedules, you're making sure the timing is right. And then you're saying, how do I make sure people know this is out and marketing it? It is a lot of hats, but it's fun.
Marketing is the key.
Yeah.
And
does iHeart help you with that?
Yeah, they didn't help me as much with Blackland, but I have assurances they'll help me a lot with yet to be titled, true crime. So because it is about marketing.
Right.
I do have a marketing team, my own team, which works on my own brand, but still, I need the powerhouse. You need marketing everywhere. This is marketing.
Right.
You have to have it everywhere. It's just a fact.
Now, when you record your podcasts, do you do them visually, video and audio?
Now they're just audio only. So it'd be interesting to do it video-wise. The reason why it's a little tougher for me to do the podcast I'm doing now, which, I'm still producing, not video-wise, is because of the production. It's not just a straight interview. Right. It's also audio. It's also police press conferences. So all of that is mixed in together. Exactly. It's almost like a news package, but just longer, which is, comfortable for me to write in that form.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it as the news package kind of thing, which I know what it is. Can you explain to our audience what a news package is? I know what it is, just having.
Oh, absolutely. A news package is when you have video to accompany the audio, but you edit it. So in other words, you'll have the beginning of a police news conference, and they'll say, we're looking for a suspect. He's on the run. And then we would cut from there to maybe the area where the crime happened and talk to people there. Oh, yes, I saw him yesterday. I haven't seen him since. And then go back to the police and say, yeah, there is a reward. And then maybe go back to the people and they say, well, if we find him, we'll certainly turn him in for the money, that kind of thing. So you're kind of mixing a bunch of stuff together. And that's a little tough if you're just going to go straight because everything has to be edited. So
now, does iHeart disseminate those two news stations since you're doing these now this way?
Yes, they do. They are the distributor. iHeart has what they call the iHeart Radio app. It's something that it's free. You download.
This podcast is on that.
Exactly. And so you can see whatever podcast you like, and you can also hear the newscasts.
Now, does iHeart, because Spotify was my anchor. So Spotify puts things out video so you can watch a video.
Right.
On Spotify. Does iHeart, and then when it goes to iHeart, then it's just video.
It's just audio.
Just audio.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. No, they haven't. I have not seen any video yet on that. But you can also put it on YouTube.
Right.
So
yeah,
look at all of this. Spotify, iHeart, YouTube.
It's remarkable.
It is remarkable.
It's remarkable.
And I just learned of another platform last night called Discovered. And I thought, yes, you mean Discovery? Like, no, Discovered, which is another platform which does the rev share because everyone's talking about that as well. Then there's Fanbase, which is something else I did a piece on. Again, very much like like an Instagram, just longer, so.
Well, it's funny how I started podcasting was because Instagram, during the COVID period or whatever, I had a book out like 3 years earlier, and my audience would say, I really wish you would read to us at night.
Whoa, I love that.
And it was hilarious. I would take my book, say, hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm Diane, blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
Then I'd say, okay, today I'm going to put on my glasses and read to you. And and then Instagram said, oh, no, you can only record for like a minute and 30 seconds. When Instagram decided they wanted to become TikTok, I'm not sure what they are now. I think they should have stayed in their own lane and added things instead of subtracted. But that's when I said, okay, I guess I'll try a podcast.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean,
and it's fun.
It is fun, and there are a lot of podcasts, and I'm so glad yours is breaking through. But yeah, people have things to say. People need to hear people say things. I mean, everyone's looking. Everyone's kind of in a weird space right now. So I think these kind of things at least tells people you're not alone.
You just said, I want to hear more on what you just said.
Yeah.
Expand on that, Vanessa, because I do think people are in a weird space.
I do.
I read these statistics. I just read a statistic the other day that over 11% of people, so that's 11 out of 100 people, are spending over 4 hours a day worrying about money. And then there was a follow-on poll that said, that poll's ridiculous. They came back and said it's 65% of people are worrying about money 4 hours.
That's very scary.
It is scary. And then you think about, the idea of your freedoms being taken away from you, as we all experienced. And I probably have to watch that because I got censored on my last video when I mentioned something like that. I got limited viewing instead of full viewing. But, people are in a different state of mind.
Yeah. And it's really scary. I think people are worried about their children.
Yeah.
I think that when you have a teenager and that teenager leaves the house, there's a prayer that goes up. You just don't know what's going to happen. That's scary. The money thing is real. And what's scary to me is that when there's this kind of lack of money, it puts us all at risk because it makes people so much more desperate. So you're kind of like a sitting duck.
Yeah.
And, it's sad. I mean, even parking and coming over here, this couple had a mattress and they were literally lying, like they were lying in their bedroom on the street. That pillows propped behind their heads. They had their feet up. They were just conversing. But they're lying on the side of a building.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everybody's kind of weird right now, in a weird space. And they're cautious. I think there's a lot of anxiety. I think they're nervous. And I think they're losing a lot of hope. I certainly hope things work out and there's this flood of prosperity for most people and that can help others. But who knows? We have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things I love about doing this podcast, which I'm sure you know as a journalist, as you said, just getting people to talk and having those conversations, because we live in an age where, I talk to people who say, I haven't left my house in 3 days. I work from home. I don't have to leave. I'm like, you live in New York City. Don't you want to walk around? Don't you want to see people? Don't you want to pick up the energy that's on the street? Look at the graffiti. Look at the walls of stickers that make me say,
and the answer is no. Because you're safer at home. You go to work and you get shot in the lobby. You get on the train, you get pushed in the tracks. So yeah, the answer is no. People rather stay home, and that's sad.
That's sad.
Because even now, I feel, I miss people by doing this remote thing where I used to always be around so many people. I'd be in a newsroom full of people.
That energy, the giggling, the laughing, somebody tells a stupid joke, somebody tells a good joke, but you're moaning either way.
Even looking at the videos, looking at pictures that people have and hearing their stories and what
getting
they did
a hug from you when I saw you.
Yeah, it's getting a hug. Yeah.
That touch.
Going to lunch. Having a drink.
Yes. All those things.
Yeah, no, it's not good. It's not really, it really isn't a good thing, the way things are starting to turn out, but hopefully it'll turn around. Let's be optimistic.
Yes.
And prayerful.
Exactly.
And faithful.
Yes. I think there's a lot to that.
Everything is to it.
As you decide on stories. Is it called BIN?
Yes, the
Is that
Black
the acronym?
Yeah,
Acronym?
BIN, the Black Information Network. Yes.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
you're doing a story for there, are you deciding on the story? Let's get into that
Oh
storytelling
my
and where
goodness,
it
that's always
originates.
interesting. So when I returned today, I got to figure out what exactly I'm going to air. So
Mhm.
I'll look and see what's going on. I'm not really sure what's happening today clearly, but find out what are the top stories for today. One piece I already know that I'm going to air. It has to do with charity scams because we've
Oh,
had so many natural disasters. We've had flooding in Texas, obviously, tragic there at
yeah.
that summer
Horrible.
camp. Um, and we've had the wildfires. There
Yeah.
are some still burning now. A
Mhm.
new set of wildfires. We've had hurricanes and tornadoes and all of that stuff. So we see the suffering people who literally overnight lose everything. You
Mhm.
want to give.
Yeah.
So what happens is during these tragedies, the scam meters go through the
Mhm.
roof. So I talked to this woman who I talked with her the other day, who is the head of fraud protection with USAA Bank.
Uh-huh.
And so she came on to give us some tips. So I know that's what we call an extended block. So I know I'm going to do that. And like in television, everything is very short. So,
Yeah.
so I
Those
have
3-minute clips,
that's
radio, television, 3
yeah,
minutes is long these days.
3 minutes is an eternity. Most of our news stories in broadcast news were 1:30. That's the average. A minute 30.
Really?
Yeah, you can maybe go a minute 45 if you beg the producer, but when you get beyond minute 45, now you're in specials categories, which then you can go 2 minutes or longer. But that's a whole different ball game. That's not every night. But this particular story I did do the other day. So that will start going into rotation. That's another thing. Because what we do, like most radio, even some of the TV wheels, it's a repetition part of it. So you
Right.
constantly hear it. So that'll go into rotation today.
So how many minute 30 seconds segments are you producing in a
Every day.
day?
Well, what I do is when I do 3 newscasts. I do a 319, a 319, and 319.
What does
I
that mean,
do
319?
3 minutes and 19 seconds.
Oh, literally.
Literally for each. I do 2 national blocks, they call it, and then I do a local block. And so that's my day. And then I also do the interviews, and then I also do the podcast. So that's separate. So it's a long, busy day. It really is.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And we get our stories from a variety of sources. A lot of times, like you said, people email me or
Mhm.
contact me to do a story, and I do it that way. Oftentimes, it's what's in the news. If something is going on, like for instance, I know locally they're looking for people. This woman who was involved in a homicide of her boyfriend a couple of years ago, so they're they're looking for her. So I did that story yesterday in New York. They
Uh-huh.
think she may be in Queens, and
Hmm.
so I'll probably follow up to see whether they apprehended her today to do an update on the story. So we do a lot of updates. So it's a
It's
variety of
fascinating how your
stories.
mind's got to be thinking.
Constantly looking for stories. I'm
Oh my.
constantly looking for stories everywhere.
Constantly looking for stories and then trying to figure out how to tell them in a minute 30
Yeah.
or 319. I mean, that
a
is
challenge.
tough.
But you find that you can because a lot of time people may repeat, so you can cut out the second time they say it.
Right.
So you can really. I had a news director once who told me any story can be told in 10 seconds. So, you just break it down to the very brass tacks.
Yeah, but there's that classic line. I'm not sure who said it. It might have been Thomas Jefferson, I think, who said, if I had more time, I'd have written you a shorter letter. Or maybe, I'm not sure who said that.
Yeah,
but
because it
it's been
takes a lot of time to shorten everything.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
It is hard. Do you do that editing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have to bring it to my editors timed. Yeah, yeah.
I
There are
salute
times
you.
where they say, "Oh, you're 20 seconds over." Then I have to go back and cut something. Yeah.
Wow.
It's interesting, but I've always liked long form storytelling. I really do like that. It is tough to do it in this short period of time, but you get it done.
Boy, because you really have to think about questions if you're interviewing someone.
Yes.
How to get that person to the most succinct answer.
Correct.
Difficult.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to ask a couple of times, and then you choose the one that's the most succinct. It's very interesting. And I'm thinking to myself, how long do I want to do this? Because I have been writing, even in elementary schools. I won essay contests. I've always loved writing. And my mother, God bless her soul, she was the one who told me when teaching me to read or hearing me read, she would say, read with enthusiasm.
Yeah.
She
They're
said,
not just words.
Yeah, read with enthusiasm. And I never forgot that. And that's what
Maybe we're sisters. That's something my mother would have said to me.
Exactly. Just don't read. Read with enthusiasm. And I've always read with enthusiasm and became a news anchor.
So what would be the next act?
I don't know. I'm thinking if I just did the podcast, maybe I can just do that.
It's funny you say just
in
front of podcasts, knowing the amount of work that goes into it. So
it does
that's very funny.
It does a lot of work. But you can do it almost anywhere. So if I set it up and do it once a week, you can do it almost anywhere. So I like that flexibility. I think what's happening with work is that flexibility that should make us more relaxed because we can be on an island doing this.
But I think it makes us 24/7 on that island. Whereas islands used to be where you went to relax. Now people are finding, I can move anywhere. But they're not enjoying the new environment. I have more friends that moved away and are now back. They have rebounded right back to New York saying, no, I'll go there when I want to relax.
You know what? That is extremely profound because when you make work remotely, you are literally on the clock all day. From the time you open your eyes, you've got the 30-second commute to get to your office, and you're on the clock all the way until you may get up to get something. You're still back there. So they know what they're doing, these employers, because your day is longer.
It is.
Much longer.
I mean, and it's so funny. Like, I've had to send some terse emails because I keep my phone next to my bed, bad thing to do. And I would tell people not to do it, but I do it because if our 2 kids are out, or if they're running around, or I don't, I know they're off doing whatever. And until I know they have landed someplace, I keep that.
Of course.
So if somebody texts me at 11:30 after I fell asleep at 10:45, you're going to get a really terse email. Do not text me at 10:45 at night.
But you're absolutely right. You have to stay on alert. Yeah. Anything can happen. Or you're jolted awake. Have you felt the earthquakes?
Oh my gosh, that was really something. I did feel that earthquake. Wow. And I just saw it in today's newspaper. There was another one.
Yeah, I felt that one too.
I didn't feel that one.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't. That was
I'm thinking
yesterday.
I was here. What time was it?
About 12:15.
Yes. So we're in a good sturdy building, Manhattan Center.
Yeah. I felt it. Where I live in West Orange, New Jersey, and it's very mountainous. So my office feels like it's perched on a mountain. And the last earthquake a couple of months ago, I was in my office and I really felt it and literally saw things rattle. The one on Saturday, I was in my office and it felt like a tree fell on the house because it was more like a push jolt feeling. And the one yesterday, I felt it, and it was more like a nudge, like maybe a truck going by, that kind of a thing. So, but they're saying we're going to have these earthquakes more frequently in our area because these faults are starting to reawaken or something like that. So it's not just California. We're going to be having more frequent earthquakes here. So hold on.
Hold on. That's all you can do. Speaking of hold on, what would be the Vanessa Tyler hashtag?
Oh, I love that, like a tagline.
Yeah.
she came, she wrote, she reported. I don't know. Let's see.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, really? Oh, let me see. I don't know. The ultimate storyteller with a story to tell.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah, maybe that one. Because I really feel that I am a storyteller.
You are.
Yeah, I really do. I really feel that and I feel that everybody has a story to tell. Because if you're living, you have a story to tell, and you have a lesson to give and lessons learned. It's a long life.
How do you think you've developed such exceptional listening skills?
Well, it's certainly part of the job. When learning in journalism school, they would say a lot of times reporters would read their questions and not even listen to the answers, just go to the next question. And someone would answer, oh yeah, I talked to my spouse about the banking account and I wanted to open a new bank. Well, that's why I killed her. But we actually went and opened the bank, and so you'd like, oh, okay. So did you open the bank account? Yeah. Well, what about the line about I killed her?
It's so intriguing. Yes. It drives me nuts when you see, and it's so obvious when a reporter does that. And it's funny, when I started this podcast, so many people I reached out to say, well, we're game to do it, but, we'd like to see the questions ahead of time. I'd say, well, then I'm not game to interview you because I'm going to do an intro. And then I'm going to take it based on what you said.
Yeah.
We're having a conversation. When do you get to have a conversation with no interruptions for an hour? No phones dinging, no interruptions, no knocking on the door, all the things. But I can't stand those scripted things. You might say something that,
exactly.
And you keep saying things that I want to ask the next question from.
Yeah, they do. They do ask a lot of questions ahead of time, especially a lot of the PR people that I deal with. They do a lot. They do. I mean, the White House used to do it a lot as well. Mm-hmm. They always wanted to have the questions ahead of time. And something you have to fight back on as a journalist. But, it was kind of tough during the last administration. We just... no, we can't do it.
It's interesting. You mentioned the White House. It's interesting now how so many podcasters, are getting press credentials in the White House. I can imagine you being a great person in the correspondence room.
Yeah, that's interesting. There is such a thing as legitimate journalism, and there are journalists who are not.
Oh, I agree.
And, a podcaster is not necessarily a journalist. And so people can't mix the two because there are certain things rules you have to follow as a journalist. You have to get the other side.
Yes.
You cannot give your opinion, although I got to push back on that. Everybody comes with their life experiences, so they always have a slant. But you just can't let it color everything in your bias. And I know people say, well, you work for the Black Information Network. That's the title, but we do stories of interest to the Black community, but it's could be of interest to anyone, because there are stories about justice. There are stories about economics, that kind of stuff. So,
you raise such an interesting question or point, because it has truly been one of the most disturbing things of the internet to me is the rise. I think it's great that people have a voice.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's wonderful. However, and it's a big however, what's shifted in media is there used to be, this is the opinion column. And people, it was an opinion. And then, as you said, there was journalism. Whether you were the reporter that had a, kind of opinion going in, but we were required to submit to your editor a balanced piece. I interviewed this person and this person says that person's, on crack. And this person says they should pull the needle out of their arm. It's like you at least had that balance.
Yeah.
That is so absent in so much media coverage today. It's sad.
It is very sad.
And how do we bring it back?
You know what? I really don't know. The only thing I can do is my own integrity.
Yes.
Because it is very difficult to put it back after it's been out. What it does, it just brings down any kind of credibility for the entire profession.
Yeah.
And that's sad because it's not all fake news. I mean, there are news outlets that are legitimate.
Yeah.
But when you label everybody fake news,
It's very
just
bad.
cuts everything. And there's nothing wrong with pointing out something that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of journalists, because they don't want to be labeled as being slanted,
Right.
they don't want to point out what the obvious wrongs are, because now you're looking like you're biased.
Right. You're
So
looking like
it's-
you're biased, and you're then subject to potential cancel culture by,
Yeah.
the new mob.
Yeah.
But, another thing along those lines, as a podcaster to podcaster,
Yes,
even though
yes.
you're the queen.
You're the queen with silver disobedience. Oh my God.
I was listening to, I'm trying to think of who it was. It could have been Douglas Murray, or maybe it was Konstantin Kisin, or it could have been Joe Rogan. It was somebody. It was one of the bigger, like the big
Yes.
names in podcasting. And they said, podcasters need to understand their responsibility of who they give a voice to.
Yeah. It's true.
And yes, I would love your thoughts on that, because it really made me step back and really think about who I wanted to interview.
Right.
And I want to be that balanced person. I mean, I've interviewed people, and I tell everybody, don't go down a lane you shouldn't talk about. Like, you can't be a yoga instructor and start telling people you're going to cure their cancer. I'm going to call you out on that,
Wow.
because you're
Yeah.
not the MD in the room or the person who's, maybe studied nutrition their whole life. So I try to keep, stay in your own lane. But what do you think about that? The responsibility of the podcaster
I agree.
and giving people voices.
You have to, on your platform, you have to hold a responsibility of who you amplify because of the fact that the information that they're putting out there, unless you're putting someone out there and bringing somebody on to counter what was said, then you're kind of in a fair space.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if someone is just really out there, no, you don't have to put their voices out there to amplify them. And I think it does a disservice.
I agree.
Um,
And I keep thinking about this. And have you ever had to cancel your own show
I have not had
or
to
your own
cancel.
segment?
I've not had to cancel my own show, but there are times where there are bites you can't use,
Yeah.
sound bites you can't use in pieces and news stories
Mhm.
because it's so ridiculous. It is.
Yeah.
It's just unreal sometimes. And you really have to get a balance, and you do have to call people out, even though they may say, oh, you're low IQ, or you're, whatever they're going to call you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very funny because as you start to interview people, a friend of mine who was the head of Virgin Publishing at one point, really has had, and now he has another company, Synergistic. He's he's a good feedback for me, and will be critical and say, this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong. And it's great feedback. And he said, sometimes I listen to you and it's almost like you've entered a therapy session on air. And somebody starts saying something and I'm like, I try really hard to bring them back.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I'm thinking, we don't do edits here.
Yeah.
This is a live take.
Yes.
It's airing.
I love that.
But some people won't let you dial them back in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you have done here and what your whole brand is about, it is such a service because you've shown us and shown the world what we are experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are many generations.
Mm-hmm.
And today, who was maybe your parents' generation before, that's not the people
Mm-hmm.
today. Yeah, we're over 50. over 60, 70, 80, and still fabulous and still living. And I think what you've shown people is that that's how you can still live.
Yeah.
As long as you stay healthy. You know, the health thing is a whole different story. But if you work out, if you exercise, if you get a rebounder, you can live these years fabulously. I mean, and I think that the brightness and the shine and the hope that you're giving people is just phenomenal. I wanted to say something else about you, and I laughed about it the other day. I'm doing a kitchen remake. I've lived in my house probably about 25 years. I love it, but it's time to move. So I'm starting to get in that vein of figuring out where to go next. I need a change. Love my house, love everything. But so I'm going to do a kitchen refresh. So I'm going to get new counters, keep the cabinets, put handles on it. Oh, I've learned these tricks on HGTV, so I know what to do. And so I grabbed a tape measure and I was measuring things. And then I looked at it and I see your name on it. What a practical gift in the swag bag.
Do you know? Shoot, we're out of time. I see our clock flashing, and I want to get to your book, so we're going to wrap up. We're going to go overtime with 2 minutes here. But it's so funny. I just had someone reach out to me that I haven't talked to for 10 years, a CEO I worked with for a long time. And he said, Diane, I just want to tell you, I actually keep up with everything you post, all your blogs. I read them. I now listen to your podcast. Beautiful. He goes, and I don't comment. He goes, because you get into personal stuff and I really don't want to share that side of my life publicly. He goes, but I also wanted to tell you, my tape measurer broke today.
Whoa. Whoa.
That is so funny. Yeah, that was one of my favorite premiums for sure. But hold on, Vanessa, before we end, you have got a book you wrote.
I did. My book is titled Doggone Human, the breaking news story you have to see to believe. It's about a precocious 11-year-old who wants to be a news reporter, and she sets out to find a story in her hometown, and the story she finds, no one believes. Talk about fake news. But this is a story about sticking to your guns and believing in yourself, even if no one else does.
Can somebody find that book someplace, or are you looking for a publisher?
I'm looking for a publisher. On my website, vanessatyler.com, you will have an update of what's going on. I kind of jumped the gun for all these
book.
And it's beautifully illustrated by Sterling Brown, who's an amazing artist. And so, I mean, it's the story and the pictures. It's such a great page turner for kids, and they can follow along, and you can ask them about different things. See how beautiful it is.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful book. So yes, I'm looking for a publisher.
Okay.
And a literary agent.
Can we do this again?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
Because this time
I would like to
too
come
fast.
back when I'm doing my piece on my new true crime podcast.
Would love it. Oh, that's a big topic. My guest today has been Vanessa Tyler, and there are going to be all kinds of links to find her because you absolutely want to follow her and pay attention to what she's doing now and what's unfolding, because I can guarantee, I've known this woman 20 years, there's going to be something unfolding. If she said she was retiring in this episode, which she didn't say, but if she did, I'd still tell you, follow her, because it's not for real. Lots is going to happen with her, and it's going to keep happening. Vanessa, you're amazing.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Everybody, please hit subscribe. This is the Silver Expedience Perception Dynamics podcast. We're recording in Manhattan Center. We're in TV2. It's really cool. My guest today was Vanessa Tyler. Again, all kinds of information for you to follow her as well. Hit subscribe. See you soon. Thanks.